Hey guys, it's Lucky here. Here are 10 huge mistakes to avoid making as you dive back into WoW Classic. Hopefully these tips will save you a lot of time, a lot of pain, or a lot of frustration. Without wasting any time, let's dive straight in. Feel free to add more great tips in the comments below if you think I missed one. The first mistake to avoid making is underestimating how important professions are going to be in WoW Classic Season of Discovery. For example, Season of Discovery is going to be adding epic items. Those are the purple ones that you'll be able to craft yourself with amazing stats on them when you hit level 25. So some really good gear is going to be available to you through crafting itself, not to mention how badly you're going to need to make money and the way that professions can lend themselves to that end, right? Because by the time you hit level 40, you're going to need lots of money. Gear isn't the only new craftable thing that you'll be able to make with your professions in Season of Discovery. You'll also be able to make consumables. So there's going to be at least 2 different consumables added to the game for Season of Discovery that you can use while you're in the new level 25 raid. You'll be able to craft Black Fathom mana oil. When applied to your weapon, it's going to restore 12 mana every 5 seconds, and it's going to increase spell hit by 2% for 5 minutes, but this is only going to work in Black Fathom Deeps. Similarly, there's going to be a new craftable consumable, and what this is going to do is when applied to a weapon, it's going to increase your hit chance by 2% for 30 minutes. And again, this one only works in BFD. So as you can see, in Season of Discovery, Blizzard has put a lot of work into creating a brand new level 25 meta with craftable gear, craftable consumables that you've never used before. So definitely take advantage of that. Speaking of the new raid, BFD, one of the things that you're going to get from there is a buff, a 2-hour buff. So when you complete the raid, it's now going to grant you a 2-hour buff that increases your crit chance by 2%, your attack power by 20, and it's going to increase your movement speed by 20%. So this is going to be fantastic for when you're around level 25 and you want a massive buff, especially that 20% speed buff right there. That's going to feel great when you're running around farming, right? Because when you're at 25, you're going to be wanting to farm a lot of gold so that when the next phase comes into play, you're going to be able to sprint to 40 and grab that mount and be able to afford it once you get there. So the extra move speed, attack power, and crit chance are all going to be great for farming. It's also going to be great maybe to take into Ashenvale for PvP. Now, the next mistake is especially true for veteran players out there, and that would be to run through the game assuming you know where everything is and assuming that you know exactly where you're going from one level to the next. And that's because Blizzard has added new locations to the game, new caves, new places for you to discover and explore with potentially really cool rewards inside, like the new runes or perhaps new items that you've never seen before. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for some cave that wasn't there or some place that looks out of place, some place that you weren't able to enter before because it was locked off. These are all the kind of things that Blizzard intends to add for the Season of Discovery to make sure that this experience is different from the last 10 or 20 or 50 times you might have tried WoW Classic. This next one is incredibly important, but first, never once to settle for the status quo and always striving to advance the pinnacle of beard, body, and ball trimming technology, Manscaped has come up with something new. Today we embark on an epic journey into their latest treasure chests, the Perfect Package Ultra, featuring their all-new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra electric trimmer. Safely trim your hair all over your body with the Lawnmower 5.0's next-gen dual skin-safe blade heads. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra also has a bigger LED, now with dual temperature options. Consider those hard-to-reach areas perfectly lit and ready for their close-up. Remember, good lighting is everything. Elevate your self-care saga with Crop Soother and Crop Preserver, meticulously crafted to keep you refreshed and revitalized just like your character's HP bar. It doesn't stop there though. When you purchase the Perfect Package Ultra 5.0, you get one gift for free. The Manscaped Shed 2.0 travel bag is optimized for gamer-style convenience, ideal for snugly fitting under your gaming setup. Join the 9 million men worldwide who've put their faith in Manscaped for all things grooming and hygiene. Head over to manscaped.com to get your hands on the Perfect Package 5.0 Ultra today. When you use promo code LUCKYGHOST, you get 20% off, plus free international shipping, plus one free gift. That's 20% off and free shipping and a free gift with promo code LUCKYGHOST. Trust me when I say this, fellas, your balls will thank you. Or I guess you could just use it on your face. Shout out to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to the video. Another huge mistake to avoid making is coordinating with your friends which server you're going to be playing on, because there's a few huge changes coming to WoW Classic and the way it handles servers for Season of Discovery. Most of these are going to be to your benefit, and it's going to make it easier to get on the same server as your friends because they're going to be doing mega servers, right? So they're going to have far fewer servers with far more layers, so much less fragmentation of the the WoW population. So that part is going to make it a lot easier to end up on the same server as your friends, right? Because it's much less likely that it's just going to be full. Now, on the flip side, one of the things they're going to be doing is they're going to try to balance the Horde and Alliance factions on the PvP servers so that we don't end up with the faction imbalance that we've always ended up with in PvP servers in the past. So what you're going to want to definitely do is make sure you and all of your friends create a character right away on the same server. Otherwise, you risk two of you creating a character on day one, and then the third or fourth person trying to create a character on day 2 or 3, but they're not able to because there's a faction imbalance preventing them from making a Horde character on the server that you're on, right? So try to have everyone, as soon as they can make a character, even if they only have 5 minutes that day, jump on, make their character on the server, on the faction that you all want to play on, so that at least they're there and they're locked in when the servers start locking people out of creating characters for certain factions to maintain that faction balance. Another huge mistake to avoid making is not killing the mobs that you run by as you're going from quest to quest, right? So basically, it's always a good practice in WoW Classic to kill every mob between where you are and where you're trying to get to, because if you simply kill the mobs for the quest and then turn in the quest, you're going to end up running out of quests to do in your zone before you're ready to move on to the next zone, before your character is high enough to do the quests in the next zone effectively. You could try to go into the next zone when you have some of the quests that are orange and a bunch that are red and try to force your way through it, but depending on the class that you are, this might actually cost you way more time than just killing mobs, as you're running from quest to quest while you're playing the game. Even if it's not a mob that you need to kill for a quest, it's always good practice to just kill it for the free experience as you're running to your next location. Because as you may know, in World of Warcraft, you're going to spend a lot of time running. So while you're running somewhere, kill a mob, kite it and kill it at the same time as you're running. You don't even have to break stride. You can just slap it while you're running, walk backwards, whatever you have to do to keep getting experience as you move. Another common mistake that players make when they're jumping back into WoW, especially if they've been playing retail WoW, where the game is really easy, right? And so in retail WoW, you can do anything you want. You can kill mobs way above you, and it's not a problem. Classic WoW is a little bit more punishing in that regard. And so don't underestimate how useful green quests are and how time efficient it is to do quests while they're green. You're going to be able to kill the mobs faster because you're going to miss less and they're going to hit you less, right? So you'll hit them more often, they'll hit you less often, which means you have to spend less time eating and drinking, and you spend more time slaying your enemies. So green quests are not bad. In fact, doing green quests is incredibly efficient. And when I say green quests, I'm talking about the difficulty of the quest. When they're below your level, they're going to be green, and when they're around your level, they're going to be yellow, and when they're above your level, they're going to be orange. And if they're red, they're going to be too high level for you to do it all, really. Now, especially when the new servers launch, there's going to be a lot of competition for quest mobs, and you might find yourself sitting around a mob spawn waiting for it to spawn, and you're competing with a bunch of other people that are there. A lot of times, the best thing to do in this situation is to try to invite them to your group or try to get invited to their group. And this way, when it says kill 5 of these mobs, when one of you kills it, you all get credit and vice versa. So it's a win-win for everyone to group up for a quest like that. So don't be afraid, don't be shy. A lot of times people will just group you or you'll group them, especially if it's like killing a named mob and they see you running while they've almost got it dead, they'll send you an invite, and it's always nice to do the same thing for them. Another huge mistake to avoid making in WoW Classic is forgetting to pick up the dungeon quests before you head into them. Remember, there's going to be multiple quests to pick up before you head into the dungeon. So if you're going to do that first dungeon around level 15, make sure that around level 9 or 10, you start running around, picking up all those quests for that dungeon and completing them, because some of them have multiple steps, and grab those, complete those, and then take those quests into the dungeon with you so that after the dungeon is finished, you can turn them all in, and they actually tend to have really good rewards, both gear wise and XP wise. So definitely take advantage of that. Another huge mistake to avoid making in WoW Classic is ignoring those secondary professions like first aid, for example, which is incredibly useful. You can level all 3 of your secondary professions, and you definitely should, especially first aid. It's going to make it so that you have a lot less downtime. So level up your first aid, save yourself a ton of money, maybe even make some money off of it. You're going to need it. Now, a few times here, I've hinted at the fact that you're going to need a lot of money, and you probably remember, if you've played WoW before, that getting that mount at level 40 can be pretty hard to afford the first time you're getting there. And as a result, you're going to have to spend quite a bit of time farming some money between the level 25 and 40 range to make sure you have that 80 gold when you hit level 40 so that you can buy that mount and get that 60% increased move speed, which feels so good. Now, the great thing about that mount is that you can reduce the cost of it 2 different ways and they add up together. So you can reduce the cost by 10% by becoming honorable with your raise, right? So I'm undead, I become honorable with Undercity, and it's going to reduce the cost of the mount by 10%. I can also get my PvP rank to 3, and this is going to reduce it by another 10%. So that's going to take the cost of that mount from 80 down to 64 gold. That's a massive decrease. And similarly, you get another mount at 60, which costs 1,000, and you can bring that down to 800 if you've done those two things, right? So massive savings on both ends. So definitely get yourself to honorable with your faction. It's real easy to do. I did it on accident on this character here by the time I was level 17 without really focusing on it at all. Just doing quests in the region got me the honorable. And because of another change that's coming with Season of Discovery, getting to rank 3 is going to be nice and easy. They're going to be having Warsong Gulch available at launch. So that'll help you get to rank 3. You're also going to have Ashenvale to run into and PvP in. So you should have plenty of ways to PvP if you're into it. And a huge mistake would be to avoid doing this, and that's going to be leveling your gathering professions. Like if you want to just kind of passively make money while you're enjoying the game and you don't want to think too much about crafting and crafting professions and getting materials and recipes and everything that it takes to make money off of crafting, you could just be a gatherer. You could gather herb, you could level up your herbalism, or you could level up your mining and just gather nodes while you're running through the zones. Or a really popular one is to level up skinning, because you basically just skin the mobs that you kill as you kill them, and it's a really passive way to make a ton of money if you want it. So don't neglect your gathering professions. You can always abandon them later if you do want to dive into crafting. And by the way, if you're curious which professions you should use, both primary and secondary, be sure to check out my complete beginner guide linked down in the description below. I've got a really thorough guide that explains the pros and the cons of each profession and which classes typically use which profession and why you might want to use each one if you'd like to know something like that. Another way to make money is to not spend it, right? So to that end, another huge mistake is to unlock every ability from your class trainer as they unlock. So not every ability is worth learning. Not every spell is worth learning. In fact, there's going to be a lot of them, oftentimes an entire talent tree is worth, where it's just, I'm not really using that talent tree at all with my current build. And if you're not going to be using those skills, you don't see a good use for them, or the build you're following doesn't recommend them, don't bother spending your money unlocking them, because the higher ranks, especially of those skills, are going to cost multiples of gold. And that's just going to make it nearly impossible for you to get your mount when you hit 40 if you're dumping all your gold into learning skills that you're never going to use. If you're not sure which skills you should and shouldn't invest your money in, there's always websites like Wowhead that will have a leveling guide or a level 25 raid guide that's going to tell you exactly which skills you're going to be using and which talents you're going to be spec'd into. And speaking of, in WoW Classic Season of Discovery, they're making it a lot easier to respec. So don't be afraid to use a leveling build, or don't be afraid to experiment and make your own build entirely of the skills that you think are fun and the skills that you think look cool, right? Use that. Take advantage of the fact that it's going to be real easy to respec this time around. They said that we're going to be able to respec for very cheap, and possibly even they might add the ability for us to have multiple specs so that we can switch between them for free. So definitely use a fun build as you're leveling up. Use a leveling build if you want as you're leveling up. Don't just look for the raid build and follow that from level 1, because it's not necessarily going to be the best leveling experience to use a raid build while you're, soloing your way through the zones. Which brings us to another huge mistake that you might make in Season of Discovery, and that's to forget that it's about the journey and not the destination, especially in Season of Discovery, since we're being locked at level 25 in the first phase and then level 40 in the second phase, right? That's going to go really fast. People are going to be hitting level 25 on like the first day, and there's no reason to sprint or to rush through it. Enjoy it, smell the roses as you level, get to 25. When you get to 25, they said that they were going to be putting us at 25 for at least a month, somewhere between 1 and 3 months. I think it's going to be a lot closer to 1 month than 3, but we're gonna have to wait and see how this goes. I think that's what they're waiting to find out too. They want to see how long we sit at level 25 and how long we keep ourselves entertained while we're there. So take your time, don't rush, and don't use up all of your goodwill with your partner on, day 1 of the new season. Because of this cap, you'll have time to have a life outside of WoW while keeping up with everybody else that's playing it all day long. Another huge mistake to avoid making if you've been away from the game for a while is you're going to have to go to your class trainer every 2 levels. And it's going to be real easy to level up an ability, but then forget to drag the highest level version of that ability onto your bar after you level it up. Remember, the game doesn't do that automatically for you. So when you rank up your Fire Blast from rank 1 to rank 2, the one on your bar is still going to be rank 1. You have to actually drag Fire Blast rank 2 down onto the bar so that when you start using the ability, you're using your new higher damage ability. right? So don't forget to swap those skills out after you level them up. Okay, the next huge mistake to avoid making might be to procrastinate on picking out some good add-ons. Now, I'm not going to tell you you have to use add-ons if you don't like add-ons, or if you really want the unadulterated WoW experience, then go for it, live your best life. I want you to play the game the way you want to play. But I will say that there are some amazing WoW Classic add-ons, like the add-ons that read the quest to you so that it's like they're voice acted as you're running to the next quest. The story and the dialogue of the quest that you're about to do is being read aloud to you, and it's fantastic for your immersion and for your entertainment while you're going around questing in these massive zones. So that's just one that helps with immersion if you're really about the immersion. And then there's countless more that help with efficiency and all of that good stuff. So if you're not sure which add-ons you should use, again, I have a link down to my complete beginner guide, and there's a timestamp that you can click on that takes you straight to the add-on section if you want to know which awesome classic add-ons you can take advantage of while you're playing this time around. Another huge mistake you might forget about if you haven't played the game in a while is to unlock weapons that you're not currently using. So if you're a melee class like a warrior, you might want to go and unlock certain weapon types that you think you're going to be finding and perhaps wanting to use as you play. A lot of them you have to go to a weapon trainer and learn how to use that weapon before you can equip it and level it up. And it's a good idea to cycle through multiple types of weapons as you level up so that they're all kind of leveling with you as you play through the game. Otherwise, you might get to a point way down the road where you get a really good mace or a polearm or something and you've never used it before, and now you've got, you know, zero proficiency in it, and it's not going to be very effective until you level that thing up. Similarly, if you're a ranged character, let mobs hit you once in a while, especially while you're low, because if your defense falls too far below your level, right? So if we look on my character right here, we got skills and we've got defense, and I'm 80 out of 85, which is pretty good. That means mobs that are my level aren't going to be getting crushing blows on me. But if that was a lot lower, if that was down around 60 or 50, right? Even the mobs that are my level would be getting crushing blows on me, which means that they're going to do 150% damage, which you don't want to deal with. It's going to slow you down. You're going to have to stop and eat more food and rest more often. So as you're leveling up, you know, let some mobs wail on you a little bit, especially ones that don't hit very hard, and help you keep your defense close to your max level. And then another quick tip is don't forget to log out in inns for that rested XP. It's going to give you 200% increased experience when you come back to the game. Always nice to have. And the last huge mistake to avoid making is don't forget to watch my WoW Classic Complete Beginner Guide. I've got information in there that veterans are saying is incredibly useful that they didn't know, and new players, of course, are saying it's incredibly useful. There's a lot of information they didn't know. I tried to put stuff in there that was deep enough where everybody would learn something and it was useful for everyone. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, if you found this helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff. And if you think I missed any really important tips, be sure to leave a comment down below, you know, kind of like a take a penny, leave a penny, read what other people had to say. Maybe you'll learn something, and then also add something yourself if you think of any real good tips to share. Massive shout out to my YouTube channel members. If you want to become a channel member, click the join button down below for perks like behind the scenes footage, private Discord channel access, and having your name appear at the end of every one of these videos like this. Thanks for watching. And if you're not sure what to do next, maybe check out one of these videos popping up on screen right now.